this call is really about the Academy, about the Gateless Academy, which you guys have heard a lot about, and I'm getting a lot of questions about it and wonderings and how is it different from the MFA and can I do this with my MFA? Am I going to actually have a book at the end of it? And I've done other book building programs and they've really disappointed me. How is this different? All those questions are really welcome. And these calls become very intimate in terms of what you need to know and what I need to tell you. I think one of the maybe challenges that I have with these calls is that I've been in the academy for over a decade now, and I forget how much is in there and how much you guys don't know about it and how to use it and why each of the elements is there and what writers need at every stage of their journey in building the book and in becoming career writers. And we've thought about it over the years so much. And in a decade, the Academy has just grown and grown in a way that I just could never have expected. And now we have writers all over the globe and people who are signing with the top agents and the top publishers and are getting in huge media. And really all I wanted to do was share the pieces of the process that I so badly needed when I was first starting out, and I had no idea that it would grow to this extent. And I also wanted to look at the written word in a much more comprehensive way that included the psychological, the emotional, the business, everything, the spiritual, the network, the feeling of vulnerability, the feeling of excitement and ecstasy when the work actually winds up going somewhere. I wanted to be able to have people who were connecting and making friends through the word, people who were encouraging each other, giving each other agents' names. I wanted people to be able to share their work, to hear where it was brilliant, to hear all the places that were resonant so that they could begin to grow their genius. And then I took everything I knew from being in New York publishing, from working with agents, some of the top agents in the field, working with the top publishers, working at Iowa with the head of the Iowa Writers Workshop, the late great Frank Conroy, and his proteges, and working with my mentors at Bennington and all the research I had done in the mastery of the literary arts and putting it into these very digestible seminars that would then hold the writer's hand. And then I would also be there at every juncture, answering questions, reading pages, and all of that. And then the luminaries came on because you all needed guides in the field. You needed to know agents yourself, ask them questions. You needed to know people who were bestsellers now, who had once been in your shoes. You needed to be able to feel intimate with them and like this was possible and that you could ask questions about process and the sale and the platform building and all of it. So that's how we brought the 10 luminaries in. When we're reading applications, we're thinking very carefully about which luminaries they'll be for the year. And then we used to have written pods, those weren't working, so we brought in the New Rules Studio, which is founded by Gateless trained teacher Terry Trespicio, who's also an award-winning writer and world-renowned speaker. And she brought on Gateless teachers so that people could drop into live studio sessions and write and read aloud. And then we brought in the senior editor, Kate Baldwin, to listen to work in progress so that people were actually reading aloud the work that they were doing. And then in between sending me pages so that they knew that the craft was right, that they were making these very pivotal decisions with their work in a way that was integrated with what the book needed. So it is extremely comprehensive. It's the most comprehensive book building program in the world now. We've researched very extensively other book building processes, programs, the MFA, and it is part of our ongoing research all the time. What is going on in this industry? How are writers being met? What do they actually need to do this? Why is it so difficult? Why are they getting rejected? How do we make sure that we're beating those odds? And we do beat the odds in a way that's quite astonishing, even to us. So one of the first things that I want to do today as we're starting out here is actually just to have you, before I even go into the chat, close your eyes for a moment. And I'll do it too. And really come into the somatic experience. So come into the body while you're sitting here. And relax into the body as much as you can, leaving behind the day, your to-do list, everything surrounding this experience, whatever came before and whatever might come later. And in this way, we cultivate high regard for your intention to enter the field of the written word. The literary arts are ancient in their Genesis. It was said that they came down from a divine source. At that time, very few were able to be scribes. The process was laborious and took an incredible amount of skill. Perhaps your ancestors were part of this lineage. Back to Mesopotamia, the hieroglyphs of Egypt, Sanskrit, all the way into time where you sit in present day, waiting to hear about the power of the word in your life, building a book, creating a career, and perhaps a life work from the written word. There's a mystery to the word that is unexplainable. I've been in rooms where absolutely no one is a writer. And when I meet someone who wants to write, I know I've found someone that's in kinship with me in terms of the expressive arts. Because book writing is mysterious in terms of why it visits each one of us, it can feel very frightening to give yourself to it and to surrender to it. So in this space that we're divining now at the beginning of the call, why don't I promise you that I will be completely trustworthy in the conversation, transparent. You don't have to wonder at this call. It's not agenda laden. This isn't about the sale. It's about resonance. You either feel resonance with the gateless methodology, with the network, with the various parts of this very intricate machine that has allowed the luminaries that you've heard to come out as literary experts, award winners, bestsellers, people who have been optioned for film, translated abroad. But because they're in this community, are also able to be vulnerable, to admit the hard times, to talk about how much they needed community and friends, how scared and small they sometimes felt in the process. You never have to feel that anyone is ahead of you. Only that you have people who have been through the experience. And in our community, we come back then for those who want to come through the experience too and lend a hand. And that's all this call is today. So in the last parting moment, try to move into the intention of your writing. Maybe you have a book, maybe you have many books, maybe you're not sure why you're so drawn to writing. It doesn't really matter. Gateless is a level playing field, and we'll talk about how that could be true during the course of the call. But think back to the first time you thought you might like to write. Whether there were critics in your life who wanted to interrupt this, or cheerleaders, or whether it was a completely secret endeavor. Either way, think about that relationship with the written word that you've developed, courted, sometimes left behind or rejected, been doubtful of, or been confident of. And it is that, a relationship that we will either nurture or we won't. But for this soaring hour or so that we meet, let's bring it in. The intention to create with the written word probably means you're a little bit of a smarty pants. We like research. We like to work out story and think about structure and skill and tools and craft. We enjoy reading, most of us. We are a kind of clan or tribe connected in this way. Okay, so open your eyes. Maybe you've had them open the whole time. I don't know. So let's see what you've put in the chat. If, oh my goodness, Lisbon. Hi. I wonder what that's like, Andrea. All right, Ari. How do you protect loved ones when writing a bombshell narrative about a better than fiction family saga among mad genius women? That's a good question. I love it. Okay, Minnesota, Boston, Franklin, Tennessee, New Jersey, hey, Ashland, Oregon, New Mexico, Baltimore, hi, Sheena, Georgia, and Virginia. What are some of the craft classes examples and how do they work? Videos we watch on our own, classes together, etc. What is read along the way aside from studio? Thank you. Okay, we'll totally talk into that. Hello from Broady-Skeed, New Jersey. Hi from Dublin, Ireland. We have somebody on our team who's going to Dublin today. All right, you guys. So along the way, if you can put, oh, Paris, France. Hi, Murphy. She's doing the academy this time. Hi from snowy Dayton. Oh my God. I think that's coming to us too. Hi, Vicky Gold from Walpole, LA. All right. Well, you guys ask questions as you're going and really ask them, like anything about your work, about the sale, about agents, about New York, about, things you've done before, questions you have about that, like honestly, anything. We were just at the Gateless teacher training this past week, and we got used to asking literally everything to the word, and it can answer. And it's kind of like that, but I'm going to be answering the questions. So I'm going to talk about the academy a little bit because it's so comprehensive that people can get very overwhelmed by it. So let's talk about what the academy is. The academy is it's the academic arm of Gateless Writing. Gateless Writing is a literary arts organization. We do retreats, we do career trainings for writers, we do the Gateless Academy, and then we have teachers, about 150 of them teaching across the globe. Some of them are teaching all the time with Gateless, that is their thing, and others are integrating it into their work as naturopaths, as doctors, as therapists, as artists, as retreat leaders, as whatever their thing is, they're integrating Gateless into it. So you may have run into Gateless before by running into a teacher who's using Gateless. This is the core organization that is the umbrella for those out there in the world who are trained in Gateless and running different Gateless endeavors. The Gateless Academy is our flagship program. That means it's our core program. It is the book building program of Gateless Writing. and it has a lot of moving parts. But at the beginning, it started just as a 10-week course for people who were trying to write books. We had only 2 luminaries. We had only 15 writers in that first course. And then we began to grow because the writers asked us to grow. So the way gateless writing grows is by need based growth. That means our writers ask for things and we deliver. Oh, we want to go to Europe now. Okay, let's do some retreats in Europe. Terry Trespicio developed the New Rules Studio because people want to drop in and be able to write in a community. They want to be able to generate. It's hard for people to generate on their own. And so they drop into studio. They can write 4 times a week with gateless trained teachers. It's like your yoga studio or your Peloton, and people get books written in 6 months, in a year. Sometimes you're not writing a book. It's just really good for your mental health. It's really helpful. Gateless writing can cure insomnia. We've seen immune levels boosted. We've had people who have recovered from traumas that they've held for 35 years. It's across the board. Why? Because Gateless is based on creative brain science. So it's a method that essentially looks at your work and helps you have agency over the work in order to make it more of what it already is, with craft, with skills, with tools, with mentoring, all of it. Most of the time, the way writing is taught is with criticism. So your work is deconstructed, you're told what's wrong with it, what it needs to, how it needs to be different, fixing it, that sort of thing. And in the early aughts, when a lot of the scientists at Johns Hopkins and Stanford and the National Institutes of Health, when it was still funded, um, started to do brain science research on the creative brain, what they found was if writers or musicians or dancers or anyone doing expressive arts was criticized. So, for example, someone said, I don't get it. This doesn't make sense to me. I don't like this at all. This isn't resonating with me. I feel like this is all wrong. I think you just need to start over. What happened that they saw when they did the brain scans is that the part of our brain that's responsible for imagination, long-term memory, innovation, the growth-oriented creative parts of our brain would shut right down. So what Gateless did was they took that brain science and they thought, well, writers want to have agency over their work. They want to get better. They want to get published. So how do we do that without breaking them down? And I started to work with writers one-on-one. And what I would do was I would look at their work and I would ask them the vision for their work. What do they want to do as they're moving forward? How do they want the reader to feel? What are they trying to do with the work? How are they trying to move in the world of the written word? And they would tell me, and then I would give them the tools in order to make that happen. And the tools are everything from very small tools of how to really make your dialogue page turning instead of, the stasis of sort of dialogue that stays on the page and doesn't do anything, to how to create a page turning scene, how to create chapters that make the reader really want to keep turning the pages. How do you sell? Who are the agents to sell to? Which agents love the kind of book that you're writing? Do you need a platform? How to build that platform? What do you do about money as a creative? It was like every single tool the writer needed was there. And so writers that first year, all 4 writers, I worked with 4 to see if I could do this, um, had their books published by the end of the year. It was a very quick way of teaching because it was working with the brain science. And then they had the skills to go on and do more books. And some of them became teachers, and then they were able to help others with books. So what this method does is it works by focusing on what's working. So this is where the energy of your piece is. This is what's strong. This is where your genius lies. Everyone has different genius. Everybody has singular talent. That means you're going to have a very different talent than the person sitting next to you, and you need to know what that is, or else you're not going to be able to grow the work in a way that is unique in the marketplace. It stands out. But I never criticized it. I never said, I don't know why you're doing this. This is too long. Why are you starting there? This doesn't work. If they were starting in a place that wasn't quite working, they probably knew it, but I would say, I wonder what it would be like if we put chapter 10 first and we put the backstory sprinkled throughout the book. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. And then if they didn't want to do that, if the energy wasn't there, we'd try another trajectory, another tributary. And so the writer never shut down, and those parts of the brain never shut down. And in the academy, what we do is we give you all the agency for you to be able to do what you need to do to the work, to make it into the vision that you have in your mind. You know what you can do on the page, but it's often that you don't have the tools to do it. You don't quite know how to get there. You're not sure why you're getting rejected. You're afraid that you're going to spend all this time writing and it's never going to go anywhere. And what the academy does is it puts those worries in a place that you can actually use the energy of those worries. And we'll talk about that in the very first month. What do you do with the critic? How do you use the energy of the critic in order to make the work even better? Not by criticizing yourself, but by understanding it so that you can transcend it, so that then you can integrate what you need to into the experience of writing without taking all that negativity with you, because the negativity will just keep you stuck and you'll never transcend it, and you'll never be able to get a book deal if you have all of this critic running around and running around. So hardly anyone really talks about the critic. They say like kick it to the curb, or you need it to produce, or there's a very specific way to deal with the inner critic that is unbelievably effective, and it actually gives you energy, but it doesn't break the work down. So we talk about how to know, is this my editor? Is this my pragmatist? Or is this my critic? How do I know the difference between that? And you learn that very thoroughly at the beginning of the academy, because if you can't learn that, you're just swimming against the current the whole time. And once you know that, every single time it comes up, you have those tools and you have those exercises in order to work with it. And we share a vernacular. So you can tell me, I'm feeling stuck, or I'm not sure if I should move forward, or I got a rejection and I don't know what to do with this feeling. And a lot of writers stop there. That's where they get very stopped up. They start to imitate. They don't take risks. They're not sure where their voice is singular, and so they can't grow it. It just becomes this kind of muddy, foggy field. So we don't want your field to be foggy. We want it to be very clean and clear. We want to give you a very clean map to move forward. Once you know about the critic, you move into the actual building of the book. You move into the industry. The industry has extremely high standards. You're self-published, whether you're published by someone in New York, you know, a big four publisher in New York, whether you're published with an indie, whether you decide to go hybrid, the written word in book form particularly is something that people need a lot of expertise in order to go forward. But the thing that people don't realize is how fun it can be. I mean, it is a blast to create on the page. Once you know how to create on the page, once you have the agency that you get in the academy with.
Did she just disappear? Is it just me, or did she disappear?
No, she did.
She
No,
disappeared.
she disappeared.
Hang on, hang on. One
She
moment.
froze
There she
and
is. She's back. I was gonna text her. Sorry, Suze. We were like, she fell through a trap door. Please continue. Honey, you're muted. You're muted though, Suzanne.
Here. I hope she's on here, keeping
You're
track.
there. You are. We can hear you. Your screen is frozen, but we can hear you. And
Okay, good. I'm glad you can
There you
hear
go.
me. Am I moving now? Is my mouth moving?
It sure is.
yes, yes.
All right. So anyway, once you have those tools, once you have the craft tools, once you have the tools for moving through the critic, it's incredible what you can create. And what's amazing to me now versus 10 years ago when we started the academy, not only that Gateless has grown and the academy has grown and everything like that, but that content has become more important than ever, because now we have the competition of AI. So if you don't know about your originality, if you don't know what your unique voice is, if you can't find that very warm human touch to the work, you'll fall through the cracks. And that's what Gateless is really made for. It's made for the individual. And it's made for you to be able to take risks within your individuality. And so we're working with the brain science so that originality does not get cut off. So what is it? Are you just watching like a bunch of videos? Are you just learning craft? What is it? Essentially, we have a portal, and the portal is a huge library of craft tools that come from my work at Iowa, my work in New York, my work that has been going on for 30 years in the industry is like all there, and the brain science, and how you work through the critic, and which agents, and how to build a proposal, and why you have to do the query a certain way, and every single thing about chapters, dialogue, starting, ending, everything is in there. So you have that as sort of a foundational core, and people listen to them and interact with them anytime they want to. And people keep those seminars forever because they're super helpful as you go through your career. And they're kind of like a labyrinth, like you're going to go around with them and then you're going to see them in a completely different way, a few months on, like, oh, I get what she's talking about, or now I can use this to do that. Before I thought it was interesting, but now I really get that this is rich. So you kind of work with those seminars in many, many ways. And Bren McLean calls them church. There's sort of a sacredness to them because of their depth, because of how rich they are, because no one has ever bothered for the writer to gather all of that up in one force field that you can then enter and fall into and learn and learn and learn and learn and also be encouraged. So that's your foundation for the academy. And then you and I work together, right? So you're going to have pages and you're going to have questions in relationship to what you're learning in the seminars. And you're going to say to me, I don't know, like, I get what you're saying about this beginning of the scene or beginning of the chapter or how to end or the cliffhanger or how to make characters more bold or what to do about gesture, but I have no idea whether I'm doing that right. Can you look at the scene and can you tell me, like, is this the dialogue you're talking about? Is this really how you integrate gesture? It can be as small as that or it can be huge. Like, should I take this character out? I don't even know if I need the mother in there. Or is this too much to give the reader? Are they going to feel overwhelmed with the trauma of it all? And those pages that I get from you are new to the Academy. We only just started doing them last year. We never had that before because writers were learning so much on their own from being in every other part of the Academy, which I'm going to talk about. But I really wanted to see what you guys were struggling with. And so now we have these intensive craft calls every month. We have a group page where I can answer your writing in writing on the group page. But what you start to realize is the questions that I have about the mother character are exactly the questions that that woman has about her sister character. So we're all kind of in, as I said, this force field together, and your question is somebody else's question, or you didn't even think to ask that question, and that person asked it, and now you go back and do your work. And the main thing about the craft and all those seminars, they're like 120 hours of seminars that you can drop into anytime, and our craft work together, is that I'm trying to give you the agency so that you don't have to hire people to do this for you. You're not going to have to be like, oh my God, now I need someone to read my work. I have no idea whether I'm doing this. You're going to know. You're going to know because you're going to be like, oh yeah, Suzanne taught me about that vernacular. Suzanne taught me about paragraphing. She taught me that a sentence needs to have this incredible architecture in order for an agent to take it. She taught me about the proposal. I know I'm doing it right because she gave me every single thing I needed to get it out the door. So it's really about how am I empowering you to become a career writer? If you want to. You know what I mean? If you want to, writing is just amazing anyway. It is something that shifts your life inexorably once you're inside of it. So having that craft either way can be incredibly helpful for everything you want to do, whether it's creating a newsletter or creating a shelf of books, it doesn't really matter. On top of that, when you get into the academy, every single month you're going to learn from a luminary. So you saw the quality and level of our luminaries during symposium. You get those, but you get them privately when you're in the academy. So you get 10 luminaries in all. There are people who have made their career out of the written word. They have done work with the written word. They've started where you are and then they've flown. And they talk about how they did it, where they were at the beginning, what their insecurities were, how they made the connections, how they dealt with having to work full time, being a mom, all of it, and also getting the work out, what they did when they were rejected, how they got the acceptances, everything. And you get to actually interact with them and ask them questions within the Academy. And we curate those Academy luminaries for you. This is on Zoom. Everything's staggered time so that people can enter in, and we ask you as we're opening the portal, like, are there any days and times that just absolutely don't work for you, so that you can always find yourself at these calls at some point or another. So you're doing craft calls with me. Then the next week you're meeting a luminary and you're asking them questions about your career. And then the next week, you're doing a work in progress salon with Kate Baldwin. So Kate Baldwin's our senior editor. She's worked for publishing for years. She has her master's in education, her master's in writing and the fine arts, and she is extremely skilled at feedback, at finding your genius, at figuring out where your singular voice is, where your talent is, how to focus you so that you can grow the work. So with her and with some Gateless trained teachers who are often in the academy with you, you're reading your work that you're working on aloud, and then you're getting feedback for that work. So you're getting me in terms of like, how do I do this? What do I do? Tell me if this is right. And then you're getting that to find out within the progress of the work what's working. And you really want that in kind of a sentence level way, like a paragraph or a scene level. You really want to know, like, specifically, where are my skills showing up? And you'll begin to see over time, like, oh, this is where they're showing up. And it gets better and better because you have all this craft, this foundational craft that I'm giving you. And then on top of that, you also get the New Rules Writing Studio, which is what Terry Trespicio, who's on this call, who saved my bum just now, has started, which is a live writing studio that you get to drop into 4 or 5 times a week, and you write with a Gateless teacher who gives an incredible prompt to get you in the theta brain state. And it is a practice writing. The more you do it, the better you become. But the other thing that the New Rules gives you is that you hear other people read aloud, and you have got to know what other people are writing. You have to, because there will be tropes and there will be ways that you learn from those tropes. Like, oh, I keep hearing this same theme over and over and over again. I'm either going to write about that or I'm going to decide to do something different, depending on whether I want to go unique from that or I want to do something different on that theme. You hear what they're doing well in their craft and you begin to integrate it within their work. Oh, I loved that dialogue. I loved that character. It was so juicy. I could do that with my uncle in this book. You're really starting to understand craft experientially, and there's no better way to learn craft. And there's no better way to have a community than to hear each other read aloud. And within that, you're getting and giving gateless feedback. So you won't read aloud every single time you go into studio. That's not what it's for. It's for community. Okay, I know I'm going to drop in, I'm going to get this prompt, and I'm going to be able to write. I know I'm going to write at least once this week because it's paid for, it's there, and I can drop in. It's an hour, and I know I'll do it. And then sometimes you'll get called on and you can either read aloud or pass. And when you get called on, then you get the gateless feedback. But either way, it doesn't really matter if it's you getting gateless feedback or someone else, because what you need to know is what people find strong so that you can begin to do that in your own work. And that is what the studio is so brilliant at. And the last 2 months of the program are really about the sale. So in the summer, you guys will be really working on, this is how you build a proposal. If you're doing nonfiction, if you're doing fiction, this is how you build a query. These are the agents that you want to be able to query. These are the best ones in the industry for what you're doing. It's all about the sale. This is how you build a platform. You work with a media specialist during that month. You work with someone who really knows how to pitch. they know the landscape of media. They're able to build your platform with you so that you don't feel like, oh my God, I'm a nobody. And they build it in order that you feel integrated with what you're doing. You're writing about something that you love. It doesn't feel weird because you've been working on this material and now you get to get it out in little sound bites into the world. So you can say, hey, I have something. I have this piece that I want to give to society, and I'm going to start with these smaller muscles. And at the same time, you're learning how to cultivate the person that you're going to publish with, whether it's the hybrid or the indie or, the agent or the big four. So you can kind of see that the academy is a big arc and you're extremely supported while you're inside it at every turn. Are you going to do everything? Absolutely not. You're going to drop in and do this. You don't feel like doing that this month. I'll do this instead. But everything's recorded. So you come back to it like a podcast. People who did the academy 3 or 4 years ago will write to me and say, I took a long car ride and I listened again to every single seminar, and I just heard them a completely new way this time. I listened to all the luminary calls that we did that year. I listened to all your craft calls that you did with us, and I really now understand X, Y, or Z. Writing is so beautifully complex and it meets you everywhere. I mean, it is something that will grow with you forever. You always have it. And once you know craft, and once you understand the critic, and once you understand the expressive arts, it's giving you something. It's almost like if you can think back to when you didn't know how to drive and you thought, like, okay, well, I don't know how to drive, but I can get a ride, and my mom's going to take me there. Well, maybe she will. And then you learn to drive one day and somebody let you use their car. And it was like, oh my God, like the whole world opens up to you when you know how to do this because everything is content, everything. So there's something very powerful about knowing how to do this. And what the Academy was designed to do was to meet you in that power in every different part of it. Like, here's another place that you can grow into, and also this. And if you didn't know about that, here it is without ever criticizing you. And per capita, we have more published writers who are doing better than any other program out there. And that is because of the brain science. No other program has this kind of understanding of creative brain science. Why? I just think because we're used to doing things the same way. We've always had criticism in academia, always. And we feel like, well, if you don't criticize me, how am I going to get better? But it doesn't actually work that way. It's a little like, if you focus on the mole that you don't like on your chin and you ignore your beautiful eyes, well, then you're only going to see the mole every single time you go to the mirror, and it's not going to be a happy experience. But if you can focus on what you love, you go to the mirror and it feels good. And it is the same thing with the work, except what you focus on grows in the work. So Sheena Cook, who I think is on this call, had her book accepted to an agent, and the agent went through the work and told her, these are the pieces of the work that I really love. Like, this is where your work has energy. And Sheena came back and said, those were the pieces that I wrote in Gateless. It just does have an energy when you write and you know you're going to rise to somebody who's telling you what works and what's beautiful about the work. And also, you guys, there's no reason for you to feel mystified by this experience. Too many people kind of dangle the cheese up here. Like, well, there's a locked door and you have to know the combination and then maybe it'll get published, but probably not. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. It should be a level playing field. And the Academy is designed to meet you where you are. You have 40,000 words, great. You have a whole book, great. You have 8 books and you're working on your next one, great. So it's not supposed to be like only for this certain writer. It's a labyrinth. It should be that it meets you wherever you are. And you should be able to feel like completely at home in that place without feeling bad that you haven't written a word, but you have an incredible concept. Good, you'll write the book this year. So I'm going to stop talking and see what you guys are saying. Um, I know, Andrea. what the hell will AI do to the industry? It's going to do what it will do. AI, we're learning to use it, to the best of our ability in order that it can help us in the work rather than hurt us. But this is why you have to have a unique voice. This is why you have to understand craft. Because I have used AI experientially to see what it has to say about craft. And it might know craft, but it actually doesn't know how to apply it, or it will edit your work. And some of it's okay, but the rest isn't. And if you don't know, oh, I get what it's doing there, but actually I know the craft and that isn't how you start an essay ever. So I'm not going to take that part of it. If you don't already have that foundation, AI is imitative, right? So it's imitating whatever is already out there. So you better know what's out there. You better have like a big understanding of what craft is so that if you put your pieces through AI, you're clear whether the editing is tight and whether it's going to move you forward or not. And then also AI cannot have the kind of, understanding of voice that you're going to have and the singularity of voice. Megan Mitchell, this is a great analogy. Can it be like training for a marathon where you do smaller races along the way? Do you practice getting published with essays, articles, and short stories? Yeah, that's that last part where we work with the media specialist. You're able to get the shorter form pieces out. And also, my belief is that the book comes together not by saying like, now I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write 320 pages. Like you're just going to be like frozen in place. But if you can think of it, if you can write a paragraph, you can write a book. The paragraph, the sentence, actually, what's very cool about the book is the sentence has the same arc and architecture as a whole book. So each part of the book is actually imitative of the whole form of a book, which we'll talk about in the Academy, and you'll understand that much more. But so what you want to think about before you write your book, try to think about, can I write a paragraph? Can I write a scene? Because if you really deconstruct a book and look at like, how did this come together? Any book at all, a memoir, a how-to, Terry Trespisio's Unfollow Your Passion, like if you really look at that book, what is it? It's small, really brilliant pieces put together one after another. So it isn't like, oh, this whole thing connects. It shouldn't connect. It should have these satellites. Like this is a scene, then this is a wisdom, like a narrative, then this is a how-to, then this is another story. And in the novel, it often is like a little bit of narrative at the beginning, then scene, cliffhanger, then you open, and maybe it's a global frame or a narrative, and then it's scene. And we talk about that in the Academy, like, how do I do this? Oh my God, I can't. Like, I'm never going to be able to do this. I can't do this. You can, because we're going to show you how to start with the small and then build out from there. So it never feels overwhelming. We call them in the Academy, we call them lily pads. We like to underwhelm you rather than overwhelm you. During the program, is rewriting done during the process of creating a book, or does it commence after a full draft is completed? It honestly, it's a good question, Bruce. Rewriting depends on the intentionality, and it really, that for the first seminars where we talk about the critic are going to be so monumentally important in deciding whether you're rewriting to no effect and it's just a waste of time, or whether you're rewriting because your pragmatist or your editor is calling it forth, like, oh, I'm going to rewrite this scene, I just had a great idea. So rewriting is obviously always going to happen in writing, right? You're just going to scrap it and I'm going to start over and I have another idea and I feel like it's tighter, more economical, and I know what to bring in now because I have the tools. But if it's done because you're on what I call a yip loop, like athletes who get a yip, right? And they keep pitching to the left, They walk player after player. They have a yip. And writers can get that too, where they're just like, oh, I just keep rewriting and rewriting because I don't want to move forward really. And so we want to get at that. Why aren't you moving forward? We don't want you to rewrite for the hell of it. It may be that you're rewriting something that isn't actually going to get in the last draft. So we kind of One of the reasons we have the New Rule Studio in there, one of the reasons you do all this work on understanding the practice of writing without criticism is that we want to keep you generating, because you kind of want like a banquet of material that you can work with then. So it's okay to keep writing. It's okay to not like turn around and try to edit everything and revise. You'll revise and edit, but you want to revise and edit the things that you want to keep, right? And you don't necessarily know that when you're in that first draft. It's like you're almost like finding the book at the beginning. It's like, oh, I'll just keep writing into this because I'm not even sure if this is my book. And then if you keep doing that, the writing has its own intelligence and it will start to feed back to you like the energy of like, oh, this is part of my book. Oh my God, I get it now. All these pieces are part of my book. Those are part of a different book. And now I know what I'm writing. And the writing brings that back to you so that you don't have to rely so heavily on a figuring out thing, like a rational figuring out. But yeah, rewriting is talked about a lot. Will this all be done via prompts? You mean in studio? Studio is all prompts. But no, I mean, you're going to get all the foundational program, the seminars. You'll get exercises that aren't really prompts. It's like, okay, now try this on your own. This is how you do it. And you can send them to me. All right, I did it. I did this thing with gesture and dialogue. Can you tell me about it? Or I combined the sister and the friend. Do you think this works? Can you tell this is one person? So there are so many craft points that most writers have no idea. And when you get to New York, they'll know. They'll know if you have craft or not. They'll be like, nope, this isn't well crafted. And a lot of writers think, well, I downloaded this and like, it's great. I love it. I'm so happy with it. I don't really think I need to know craft because I feel so sure of the book. And then they get into the understanding of craft and they are just so happy. They're like ecstatic. Oh my God, I can have agency over this work that was downloaded. It's very exciting, and it's exciting for your readers too, because craft makes the book readable. It makes it, you just want to turn the pages. You're excited about it. And a lot of people, like Kristen Song came in last year to do the Academy, and she now has a beautiful book and a great agent, and it's out for sale. And she said, I didn't know what craft was. I just wrote my book. I wrote it from a trauma that happened to me, and I just knew I had to write every day. I had no idea I had to Google it. What is what is book craft when she came in? And then once she got the agent, she knew how to talk to her about the book because she had all this vernacular, industry vernacular that she was given from the academy. It's vast. It's like, it's like doctors who don't go to medical school and try to come at you in the operating room. I'm so excited to have you, Jessica Cantor, for year 2. I'm so excited. Okay, Christy Garcia. I work full time, yep, and have a busy kiddo. What are the hours, commitment, most of the things happen? So we meet your first one of your weeks. I mean, it's staggered, but one of your weeks you'll have the download in the portal of the seminars for that month. And the reason that we have 1 week where that happens is that you can listen to them. You can listen to them while you're walking, loading the dishwasher, falling to sleep. You can sort of get all that intel. And then the next week, there'll be 1 week where we meet and you're asking me questions, you're sending me pages. Those calls are like, I don't know, an hour and a half, right? You guys who have been in it, it's about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes longer. But you can drop in and out of those, and those are all recorded. If you're not going to be there, but you still have a question, then just send me the question and I will answer it on the call. And you can ask me follow-up questions in an email. It's extremely malleable. And then the next week, Kate Baldwin will do a work in progress salon, and you can come for 10 minutes and read your piece and get your feedback and go pick up your kid. It's not like, we don't believe in that strict rigid thing. Why? Because it cuts off that stuff we were talking about in the brain. Everything wants to be fluid and accessible and for you. And you don't want to get all involved in this like discipline thing. You'll have discipline because you're going to have so much joy. You're gonna be so excited about it. It's very exciting once you get in there because you realize like, oh my God, this is a whole world I never knew about. And there's so much joy in it. There's so much joy in learning about an art like this, and the expressive arts and literary. It's just a blast. So you'll love it and you'll want to kind of sink your teeth in. But if you're not available, you can listen to it later, or you'll be available the next time we do a craft call. It's very relaxed. And then the other week is the luminary, where somebody comes that is chosen, that can come in and talk about like this part of the process that you need, or they are short form publishing experts and can answer all your questions about it, or they've made a career from the written word and they explain how they got into film and museum writing and book writing. And so that whole thing also is recorded. And if you see their bio and you have a question and you're not going to be there, you might not be there, just send your question ahead and you'll listen to it later. Yeah, so it's very malleable. Alicia has to jet. Bye, sweetheart. Oh, so Terry's saying for her book that it was pieces she wrote in salons. And this is one of the reasons she started the studio, because she was like, oh, this is how I wrote my book. So I'll let other people have a chance to write their books by writing in these short spurts. I never knew it would be, and barely knew until the end. Yeah, I remember that. So she put them all together, and then the book started talking to her about what it was. I knew the stories I liked. Yeah, you'll really feel it when you're reading aloud and you love the work. It's like, oh, this has energy. I want to make sure this gets in the book. And assembled it at the end, but it was all about scene. Yeah. And you really want to know how to do scene. That's how the work reads, is in scene. It should open the imagination up, whether it's the how-to memoir or the novel. You want to know how to write scene, right? Because then it's cinematic in my mind and I'm out of my own mind, which is what I want when I read, and I'm into somebody else's mind, which is on the page, and I'm opening up to cinematic scene, meaning I can see it, I can smell it, I can hear it, I can taste it. Yes, for Terry's new rules studio, it is prompt writing, which prompt writing is extremely focused writing that accesses a part of the brain that can't be accessed when we're trying to think it up. They've also done studies on this. And that part of the brain is the part of the brain that dreams. So it has a tremendous amount of creativity in it. It knows how to use symbol. It understands 5 senses. It drops into the somatic experience. And that's why people who read aloud in studio, often you're just blown away by their work. And writers will start comparing themselves to the person who read. It's like, well, you accessed that part of the brain as well, so you're all doing it together. But prompt writing, if anybody ever tells you that prompt writing isn't important to the process, it means that they don't understand how to do prompts that hit those different areas of the brain that actually hold creative power. Kelly Anderson, hello, my sweet, a novelist who just sold her book last year. It's coming out this coming year. I think lots of people do Academy that have very, very full-time jobs. Kelly, case in point, is a doctor, and it can work because it's making time, forced functioning, time for something very important to you. Yeah, it's so true. And it's sort of like, I almost said like it's sort of like having an affair or whatever, but it's like something that you like really want to do, even if it feels like I don't know if I have time for it. And you'll find time. You'll find sneaky little time in hotel room. No, I'm just kidding. So I think in terms of time, you kind of want to think of it as like, having time to walk, having time to sleep, having time, anything that feels like a necessity, writing begins to feel like that because it shifts your endorphins. Gateless writing, it will fire feel good endorphins, and it will raise your dopamine levels, it will raise your serotonin levels, and it will begin to feel like even though you're spending time on this, your world feels richer and you begin to kind of feel like you have more energy for other things. Because Gateless is focusing on what's working and what has energy and where you're strong, it begins to happen in different parts of your life as well, like with your kids, with your partner, with your job, and that gives you a tremendous amount of energy. Ask anyone who's been in Gateless for a while and they'll tell you about it. Anyone self-publishes. Yeah, Yeah, definitely people self-publish. I mean, we have Murphy Lewis coming on to talk about hybrid publishing at the end, and that is sort of a merge between indie and the big publishers and self-publishing. But all the way through it, I know a lot about self-publishing and that industry and how to do it and sort of how to curate your work for it and why people sometimes do it and the platform you might need for it and ISBN numbers and formatting and copy editing and proofing and all that. So we can always talk about that if you want to. Um, have you had anyone who wants to write children's books come through the program? Yes, we have had a lot of people. And Kimberly, you can write to me if you have questions about that, like, age group, what you want to do, what your vision for it is. And I can kind of think it through with you, like, oh yeah, I think this is for the academy or not. And, we can kind of sift it back and forth together. So if any of you have questions like that, you can just um, send me emails and be like, I'm not sure about this. Okay, Ari, if there's time, I'd love to hear what you have to say about this initial question. How do you protect loved ones when writing a bombshell narrative about a better than fiction family saga among mad genius women? I mean, that is such a personal question, and it really depends on family dynamics. It depends. Some people are like, I'm just gonna write it. I don't really, doesn't bother me if people maybe they'll never read it or this is the truth, so I don't care. Other people are like, I want to write this so that I get it out of the body, out of the somatic experience, and yet I don't really want to do anything with it. And if you want to write it and publish it, that's craft. And we would talk about that very extensively within the academy. There are craft tools that you can use. There are a lot of skills for this. If you look around at the memoirs that have been published that tell family secrets, from Educated to Haven Kimmel's books to Augustine Burroughs, you will find to Lit, Mary Carr. I mean, there's just so many, and you will find very specific craft that they use to protect family. And that is teachable. And it is extensive, and it's something that you want to be able to put all those tools on a wall and take this down. This is how I'm going to protect this person. This is how I'm going to protect the other. This is how I'm going to protect myself. And then there's, also fiction. Like there's memoir and there's fiction, and the two do collide sometimes in many, many more ways than we ever believe. So we can talk about that as well. Like, how do you kind of move memoir into the fiction landscape, and how do you move fiction into the memoir landscape? So yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that a lot of people ask. And then we also have like attorneys on hand who can answer questions. What else do you guys have? Like, do you have questions about your own work? Like anything that you're working on that you've been wondering about? Pieces of it or publishing it or platform? I notice that people get shy until the very end of these calls, so I try to get you to come on out now. All right, I'm gonna see who's here. And I'm gonna call and see if you would mind talking about um, your experience within the academy. So I know Farah is here. I don't know if you want to unmute, love, because you've been in the academy.
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Hi.
love. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's always so good to see you here.
Thank you. Thank you. So I am back in the academy. I started out at the academy. I heard about it and I said, funnily enough, I'm like, I'm just going to apply. I'm pretty sure she's going to say no. And then I got in, which was like the first shock. But then my experience with the academy was I had been often, honestly, like just frozen in my writing because I had done a lot of those critical kind of seminars, and every time I would come out, I wouldn't write for like 2 years. And then I'd like, I kept doing the same thing. So Gateless appealed to me just because You know, I wanted something that focused on the work and that just focused on what was good about it. And my first experience, I ended up going to a retreat, and that was really life-changing, just being in a room with a bunch of other writers and exploring this beautiful kind of gift we've been given. And as I worked through the first time I did Gateless, I really did a lot of memoir stuff. And I got to the end and I just said, I actually don't want to do anything with this. I don't want to publish it. I needed to write it for my own reasons, but I don't want to publish this. And that took a minute because I felt like I had worked so hard to get on this stuff, on, you know, getting this memoir out. But now I'm back because I have an idea and I can't get this idea out of my mind. It's been there for 2 years. So I said, okay, now I'm going to try and I'm going to do it in fiction and see where that takes me. And I'm lucky enough that I actually referred a couple of people, and I believe one of them is going to join Gateless. So I'm a big fan. If you're here, get excited. It's going to be unlike any other writing program you've taken. And believe me, I have taken a lot, and I've taken them for 30 years, not to, you know, talk about how old I am. But so if you're here, get really excited. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I want to, that's such a great introduction to the fact that writing is a process. And sometimes you have to get these pieces of memoir out, I think, Farah, in order to find the story that you're trying to tell. And so this idea that we get to be patient with it, and the alumni pay very little. When you come back to the academy, it's that first year that you want to get involved. And then after that, you're really in the community. And so writers come back again and again and again. They're working on second books, third books, or they have an idea. Like, I've gotten all this out. I'm not sure where I'm going with it. I'm going to come back now because now I know. And not to be afraid of that is so key to the process. It is so key to the process of being able to write really well and being able to say, like, now I'm ready. But to learn the craft even before you know what I'm doing. What am I actually doing? I had someone write to me like, I know that I'm supposed to be writing a book. I don't even know what it is yet, is totally fine. And then I have other people who are like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I have the whole book and now I'm revising it. So I love that you're coming back, Farah, and you're just such an incredible voice. I mean, talk about scene and story. It was just amazing to have you in the community and have you on retreat. I mean, that was amazing retreat. And then to have you coming back is just, it's so nice for me to have you. So I'm
Thank
really,
you.
really
One
glad.
last thing that I
Yeah.
forgot to mention, it would be remiss if I didn't. Um, you know, writing can be lonely, can be really lonely. And I have found through Gateless a couple of people, we stay in touch over WhatsApp. We're not in the same area, but we stay in touch over WhatsApp. Sometimes we'll write together. Like, having that community has also been really, really transformative. So
Yeah.
yeah, great. You guys, I don't know if we're still doing the pods this year, but that was the main way I found it. But I'm pretty sure even if we didn't have the pod, I would still have found those writers.
Yeah, yeah, you do find each other. It's amazing. I love Farah. I'm so happy you're here. And Kelly Anderson, can you unmute, sweetheart?
I was just writing this long testimonial in the chat, but I haven't sent it yet.
Hi.
Okay.
So you came from a different program and made your way into Gateless, and you talk about it with such a different kind of language than I think it's hard to describe it in the way you do. So I'm just curious if you can kind of help people see it in the way that you see it.
Yeah, well, this is what I wrote. I think the Academy's a no-brainer if you want to move ahead on your book. And Daisy Florin, who is an alum and a Gateless teacher, she said to me, well, what else are you going to do? And, um, you know, I think there are these moments in your life where you have to say yes to this thing that's going to relentlessly call you. Like if you're here and you're writing, it's going to relentlessly call you. So at some point you kind of just like have to hand yourself over to it or not. And if you don't, you're going to be uncomfortable because you're not fully handing yourself over to this thing that wants you for whatever reason. And Gateless is not like any other writing program. And I have done several, but I think the thing that's different about Gateless is there's the craft pieces, but it's kind of this like plasticizing your brain. And just teaching you to be in a different relationship with writing. Like there's no other program that does that in this way. Like it kind of loosens all of these artificial holds that we put around our writing. And then when the holds are loosened, then you can see, like you can see more clearly what you're supposed to do. And I think it's really like a relationship of love. Like you develop a new relationship of love with your writing. And the people in Gateless are some of the most loving writers I have ever met. And that's also not the case in other writing programs. Like there's so much competition in other writing programs, that there's critique. Like questioning that doesn't come from a place of love, but like that doesn't exist in this like womb of writing. So I tell everyone about Gateless. Like I think it totally changed my writing life. And I think anyone who's on the fence about it, and I've done the academy twice, and then I did the teacher training, and I think there is an accumulation effect when you do it multiple times. It's really life altering, not just in your writing, but sort of how you approach everything. It really just like kind of unlocks the way you can hold bigger things in your brain. So not to be too effusive, but that's really how I feel about it.
Yeah, and so you guys, Kelly came from another writing program, and she said, like, I felt like my book was sort of like a skeleton, and then when I came to the academy, it all sort of filled in and became this full body, and she sold it, and then, you know, to great acclaim. Like every agent that she submitted to wanted it, and she was like very overwhelmed during the training, kind of fielding all of that. And then she came back, you know, even so for a second year. And I think when we talk about the network, like writers never had a family before. It was like this one-upmanship and this competitiveness. And now, like the writers, you know, they share agents, they go on vacation together, they go to each other's weddings. Like this is how it should be. We share something really precious, you know, the love of the word, wanting to do a book. It's like there's some urgency there that's really hard to explain to people who aren't writers, and to have friends and a network who support you, who are warm, who are trying to build you up in the process and aren't afraid of your success but want it because they know it's going to open the door for their own success, because that's kind of how the community works. There's something really just so lovely about it. It's been really beautiful to see writers kind of become nests for each other so that, you know, you guys can fly.
So many of us here on the call, like we're not here because like we don't need to come and hear about the academy. Like we know all about the academy. We come because there's so, if you look at the gallery, like there's so many of us here that we just come because we love it and we support it and we're in this family. And so we just show up. We show up to all the calls, all of us. And we don't need to hear the Q&A. Like we know the Q&A, but like we come because we want people in the family because we know what it's like.
Yeah, that's very true. The family is beautiful and it grows in a very grassroots, sort of integrated way instead of, as we said before, like a carnival calling rah, 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 which it can be very tiring. Thank you so much, Cal. And the book she's writing and the next one, I mean, yeah, wait till you read her. She will become a household name. And Kimberly is asking about her children's book. I love the idea of this children's book. Um, and she wants to write a memoir version with similar themes. So if it's a children's book, she's asking about point of view. If it's a children's book, Kimberly, then it's in third person almost always. If it's like younger than like elementary school age, that would be third person. And then the memoir would be first person. And it's really nice to have those two levels of like one of them is the children's book that's appealing to a certain age group, and then you grow it up because ultimately memoir is full of symbol, and there is some theme or some main symbol that's emblematic of the work itself. And in this case, it's that metamorphosis. So that would be I narrator in the memoir. And yeah, Sherry, I love they are going towards children's. That makes so much sense for your work on every level. Um, yeah, and Vicky Goal is coming in again to the Academy and she's saying the accumulation effect. It is a family, absolutely. So, Andrea, it's a good question about how big it is. It really depends on the applications. So what we look for in the application are people that are matched with Gateless. They're going to be encouraging. They're going to be excited about the written word. They've tried other things and now they're excited about this, or they feel like they know what the book is and they want to build it the best that they can. And then we look at the writing samples. And what we're trying to do is create a community, and people who were in it last year can attest to this, that works all together because we're looking at luminaries, we're looking at all the ways that this group can kind of move together as a wave, both the alumni who are returning and also the new people. So we don't try to make it, 500 people. That isn't the thing, because I'm reading pages and the luminaries want to be able to answer questions. So it really depends. We have until December 15th to accept applications. It may fill before then, but that's how long you have. So you can audit the Academy up until then because the portal opens on November 15th. If you want to start this Saturday, then obviously you would get your application in soon so that you can be in the portal when it opens, which I think is the best way to do it, but not the only way. And the only thing that I think is great about November 15th is you get to listen as soon as possible. But you can come and see, like, we don't want people in there who are like, oh, this isn't for me. I want somebody to like break me down and give me a bunch of opinions and criticize me and all of that. It's really important. It's really important that we find people who can grow in this way. Will Salon be different this year? I heard you say work in progress. Yeah, so every year we add, depending on, what we're seeing that the Academy writers who are applying wanted. And this year we found that people wanted to be able to read from their books to the editor. So this year Kate is going to do a work in progress salon, and this will be new for alumni, where you come with pages from your book and you're actually, or book in progress that you've already written, and you're reading them aloud so that you can hear what's working and what has energy and what we love and where the craft is already there and the talent and the piece and so on. And Colleen's asking, when we submit pieces of writing to me, do we submit a paragraph, a chapter? Do we send it out to each other like on the Facebook page? You send it to me. You can send me a chapter. You can send me a scene. You can send me a sentence. You can send me a question. Like, I don't know about, this is the plot I'm working with in this particular part of the book. I'm not sure if this is going to work. What do you think of the global frame? That kind of thing. Really anything you want to send, you can send, and then I will answer them. I can answer that in our group, like where we write, to each other, and I can definitely put it up there in writing so everybody can see what you're working on and what your question was and what the answer is. Or we can talk about it on the craft call too. Yeah, Sheena Cook is agreeing. The most loving writers you've ever met. I know. We have such a good family. Let me see what if I'm gotten you all in here. Yes, Nisarine, yes, you can try it before deciding to join. And then it closes. Yeah, the entrance is once a year. It's a 10-month program, and we have it once a year. So the portal opens November 15th, and then you have until December 15th to try it. But it could very well be that we cap it somewhere. Like we have our group and we're good. So you just want to make sure that you are paying attention to that. We'll send something out saying we're going to cap it, and hopefully you will have applied by then. But you've been testing the community, right, in the luminary calls all this whole fall. So all of those luminaries were in the academy, and they're showing you kind of what the network looks like, what they learned, who they are, so that you get a good chance to witness that. But then you also can look at the website gatelessacademy.com, and you can see that there's a syllabus there. You can read all the way through the syllabus. You can try a seminar. There's so much information on that website page because we want you to come knowing what it is. So there's like frequently asked questions, there's testimonials, there's a really thorough understanding of what the program is on that page. We worked hard on that page. Yeah, read it, but also send me a question, love, if you have questions still, because it is big. It's a big program. It's trying to meet the writer everywhere. It's like a grand exercise in over delivering. So ask me questions about it if you find them. Oh yeah, Andrea, you're already in. That'll be very fun. It's a good group so far, really good group. I love your writing. It's been amazing this year to read applications, like really blow me away, great writing, and books that you really want to sink your teeth into that are going to a depth that's quite surprising. So I'm really excited about this year. I can't wait for you guys to know each other. I think you'll love each other. Okay, my loves, I'm going to try to sign off unless you have other questions that I didn't answer for you. But I'm so glad you came. I know it's a lot. And as Kelly said, like a really new way of approaching the word, but it works. We have a lot of success and a lot of happiness. So ask questions about it if it feels like, like what is she talking about? Or I didn't understand this part and I didn't really want to ask a question. Like, that's totally understandable. We have another information session on Friday before programming starts next week. So you can come to that if you have more questions. And then our portal opens Saturday, and next week on Thursday we'll do a craft call where you're kind of asking about your books, and people who are already accepted to the Academy can send me actual questions about their manuscripts and stuff like that.